Hello everybody and welcome back to my garage. I've recently replaced the thermistors of my myCOOLMAN 85 litre portable fridge freezer, and what I need to now make sure of is that when the unit is telling me that the fridge compartment is at 2 degrees Celsius, is it really? And if it isn't, what can I do about it? That's what we'll be looking at in this video. Firstly, we have to measure what the temperature actually is within the fridge compartment, and to do that, as you can see, I have the fridge compartment set to 2 degrees and the freezer compartment set to negative 15 degrees. Concentrating on the fridge compartment for our example, the question now is the inside of the fridge compartment actually 2 degrees Celsius? To test that, what I've done is I've put some bits and pieces inside the fridge just to give it some thermal inertia. One of those items is a glass of water. I'll come back in the morning and we'll measure the temperature of the water within the glass and see how close it is to 2 degrees. If it is 2 degrees, happy days, I don't need to do anything. But if the water is higher or lower than 2 degrees, then clearly there is an inaccuracy compared to what this is telling us, and we'll need to do something about it. So let's come back to it in the morning, take the measurement, and we'll go from there. Welcome back. They say a watched pot never boils, and the same is certainly true of portable fridge freezers. We've left this overnight for about 15 or 16 hours now, and it's all settled down, and it's telling me at the moment that the fridge compartment is sitting at 2 degrees Celsius and the freezer compartment is sitting at negative 15 degrees Celsius. So again, we'll be concentrating on the fridge compartment just to keep the video short, but the question is, it says it's 2 degrees, is it really? Now what we have to remember is that the sensor which is actually driving that number is the thermistor that I replaced in the earlier video, and that thermistor is located probably somewhere around about here. That is to say, it's not at the bottom of the compartment, not at the top of the compartment, but somewhere in the middle. So the temperature of 2 degrees Celsius is being measured somewhere around this point in a little compartment that's in the wall of the fridge. You would expect it to be colder down there and warmer up here as it gets closer to the relatively uninsulated top door. And here we can see I've amassed a range of temperature measuring devices which can get completely out of hand, and also I have a temperature measuring gun which will fire around in there as well to get a bit of a feel for it. But my expectation would be that the temperature halfway up or halfway inside the compartment should be around about 2 degrees if the sensor is measuring accurately. So let's have a look. So as you'll remember yesterday I put a glass of water in there. So let's retrieve the glass of water and measure its temperature and see what it says. So the first thing I'll do is use this food measuring. There it is, it's saying the day's temperature is 21 degrees. Hopefully you can see that. I'll put it in this glass now, and it's very quickly gone down to 4.2, something like that, degrees, 4.1. So we'll just leave that sitting there. We'll now get another thermometer, this one here, which is currently measuring slightly higher, but we dunk it in there and it's gone very quickly down to 4.4. They're both saying 4, one's saying 4.2 at the moment, 4.5, so they're within pretty close to each other. They're both saying 4.4. And remember, this glass of water was put somewhere towards the top of the compartment, closer to the lid, which is always the warmest spot. I also put a glass of water sort of more down into the depths of the compartment, and I also put a little thermometer down there. So that's saying 3 degrees about halfway up, or 2.8 degrees. Let's measure this other glass of water and see what that's telling us. So I'll take that out. That was saying 4.4. The other glass of water now, that's closer to 3 degrees. 3.1. This measurer is agreeing with that broadly, saying 3.3. Now as a final check, we can use our temperature gun, and I'm just going to sort of shoot it at a couple of things here, see what it says. That's saying 3.5 degrees if I shoot it at the top of those cans there. If I shoot it at the top of these cans, it's actually a bit more. It's probably slightly being affected by the lid being open. And shooting it at those there, that's saying about 4 degrees. Just shooting it at the floor of the thing there. At the back, where sort of roughly where the sensor is, that's as low as 1 degree. So I'm saying, I think overall it's not quite 2 degrees, it's probably more like 3 as an average. So that's out by 1 degree. So now that we've established that the inside of my left-hand compartment is actually sitting at 3 degrees, not 2 degrees, we can conclude that that 2 degree indication is not accurate. We can calibrate that so it actually will correctly say 3 degrees, and here's how you do it. There's an undocumented feature which I have not seen mentioned anywhere much, but if you press the up and down arrows both at the same time and hold them in for a few seconds, you'll get into a menu that allows you to apply calibration to both of the temperature sensors. Given that I've just replaced both of my temperature sensors, I figured that they would both need to be recalibrated, and that's what I'm doing now by pressing in those two buttons. That's the left hand, or for me, the fridge calibration, and that's the freezer calibration, and you would press that left and right arrow button to move between the two. Mine is currently saying 2, it should be saying 3, so I need to apply a positive 1 degree adjustment to it. If I just let that go, it's now saying 3 degrees, which is accurate. I have set the thermostat to cool it down to 2 degrees, and so it will now begin to come on and reduce that temperature. There it goes, down to 2 degrees. And now that I'm confident that the 2 degrees that it says is actually 2 degrees on the inside of the compartment, I can repeat the same process for the freezer compartment, which is currently registering negative 12 at the moment. I'll check that in a minute, and I'll apply another adjustment coefficient to that to bring that to the right temperature. So I've done that now, and I've adjusted my freezer, which actually didn't need any adjustment at all, so that's sitting at 0. I'm happy that the negative 12 that it's currently indicating represents the average of what's actually going on in there. And that's it. So remember, press the up and down buttons, hold them in for a couple of seconds. You'll get this pop up. That's the left hand compartment, that's the right hand compartment. And just to demonstrate, the amount of adjustment you get, you go down to 5, and then it comes up from 5 as well. So you've got a plus or minus 5 degree range there. If you're having to adjust it more than 5 degrees, I'd suggest that the sensor probably is faulty. That's it from me. I hope that was helpful. See you later.